What is up, guys? Apparently, the alphabet people are afraid to fly on airplanes, so now everybody must yell their sexuality while boarding a plane. Meanwhile, in that same context, somebody who's gathering statistics is asking very awkward questions, and Hong Kong moves forward with protests, as well as they bring on Dustin Faulkner later in the episode to discuss the border wall and its extreme importance in regards to keeping America safe. I'm your host, The Shoe, and this is The Schumann Show. Okay, here we go. They're real dumb, real fast. Real fast. We don't mess around here on the Schumann Show, so let's just dive into the dumb. So this is great. This is awesome. So apparently, the alphabet people are forced to hide their identity while traveling out of fear for safety. The LGBTQ community is extremely afraid of traveling because of their safety. All right, let's get into this article a little bit. I'll post the source below. You can read it for yourself. It's nuts. And the fact that this is a story, I don't know. Somebody's just, I don't know. Somebody should lose their job. Anyhow, so this is exactly what people were looking for when flying, right? You know, man, when I go to an airport, the first thing I want to do is find an alphabet person and just bully them into oblivion. That is on my list. I'm sure it's on most Americans' list. You know, man, I can't wait to get to the airport so I can just beat on a queer. This is insane. Why would this become a thing? We'll get into the statistics a little later, but this statistic claims that a majority, and it is a vast majority of the alphabet people, are insanely afraid of flying to the point where they actually make differing plans to avoid flying. So I wonder if these people just have a craving to come out in public, because I'm not going to know if somebody's gay unless they tell me, right? Well, unless they make it super obvious and they're fluttering around, right? When I go to an airport, everybody's just trying to get to their next place. You sit next to a person, maybe get thrown up on a couple times. Twice. So it's not that I'm looking out for people's sexuality. That's just completely ridiculous. And the fact, that's most people. Most people don't care. So apparently everybody needs to be noticed. So these LGBTQ people, the only way that they would know is if they flaunt it and push it in each other's faces, or else they're just another person in an airport. So suck it up and keep to yourself. Now, if this were the case, do these people, and we know that they do, we see it with the baker, they feel a need, a just incessant need to come out in public with what they are and what they believe in and what they do in their bedroom. It is just obnoxious. Steven Crowder put it that, why would anybody take pride in how two people canoodle in the bedroom? Why is that something that anybody would take pride in? That should be left in the bedroom alone between you and that person, right? For everyone. So why is it affecting us in airports now? Is it like, you know, the gays and all them people just have this insane craving to come out in public and shout their sexuality, burst into a plane and they're like, hey, I'm gay! Or, I was a man 3 weeks ago, but I ended up losing something, so I'm not really a guy anymore. Is this just something we're doing now? We're just shouting out. I'm just going to walk onto my next plane and be like, hey guys, I like the ladies. That's weird. Nobody does that. So why is this even a thing? There is no need to force your private life upon others as to make them accept who you are when, spoiler alert, I don't care. Either does the other guy on the plane. So to even come up with this study is completely ridiculous, because nobody cares. When I fly, I just want to get to my destination and leave the airplane as quickly as possible. And after being on a 14-hour flight twice, I don't care about any of that. That's not what I want to think about. So keep it to yourself. Now, let's jump into this. According to the SAP Concur study, like I said, it's a vast majority. 95% of the alphabet travelers felt that their need to hide their orientation. If you don't tell someone something, is it necessarily hiding? Why do you feel the need to tell people? So do you call it hiding? I don't know. That doesn't make any sense either. So 85% have gone so far as to change their travel arrangements for concern of their safety. Why? Nobody would know unless you're making it public. This is something that you're bringing upon yourself, okay? Nobody's going to know unless you shout it from the rooftops. And why would you shout it from the rooftops unless you want the attention? Everybody wants to play victim so that they rank higher on the victim scale so they can be like, oh, look at me. I mean, look at Colin Kaepernick and what he's doing right now with his whole thing in the NFL with wanting to take his practice by himself. He just wants to become a martyr. Well, these people are the same boat, right? They only want to shout what they are so that they can become a victim and be downtrodden within society and be like, oh, he said mean things to me or he was weird. Yeah, if somebody sat down next to me and we lasted like a 4-hour flight together and I sat next to him and he was gay and he never told me, I wouldn't know. It wouldn't be weird. But you know what? If he sat down next to me and started petting my leg and petting my hair and being like, I like men, then that's going to be weird. It's only weird how weird you make it. Okay? Now, what are they doing to actually get these numbers? This is the other thing I want to know. So 95%, what's their case study? What is the exact number of people that they're taking within this case study and from who? What demographics are they basing it on? And what kind of questions are they asking? Like, so, they just walk into an airport and they just ask people, well, that person looks gay, so what's up? You a specific letter to the alphabet? Yeah? So, how afraid are you to be here right now? You scared? Huh? Is this freaking you out? Huh? What if I told you I was straight? That's how this is. That's how I see this study going. Thank goodness he didn't say he had a bomb. I mean, that would have been just way better. I mean, straight, total catastrophe. Bomb, not so bad, This is just idiots. But it gets even better, okay? We're not done, because I'm going to drill this into the ground, and I'm going to beat this horse until there's nothing left. It'll be great. So hang in there. The paper states that 3 out of 4 women report having sexual harassment while traveling. That is 75%. What? That's 3 out of 4 women that board a plane feel like they're sexually harassed. You know how many? Why are they still flying? You would think that women would just stop flying if it was that much. 3 out of 4 women. Okay, now that's why I think this study is just complete garbage, because these numbers are just astronomically high. And like I said, who are they asking? What are the demographics? Where is the location of these people that they are interviewing? Because it ain't here. That is nuts. And also, what terms are you saying is harassment? Okay, now are we talking about actually grabbing women as being harassment? Because that would be wrong, right? Or are we talking to women? Because if men talk to women, that can be deemed up #MeToo, right? Can't be doing that. And what if you look at them weird? If you look at them weird, is that sexual harassment? Because I can see that being a thing too. So if you track that up, yeah, there's definitely that. And I can't help but look at people weird. It's just, I can't help it, okay? If I look at you, it's going to be weird because I'm weird. So it's happening. Now, is it sexual harassment? I don't know. That's up to you, I guess. It depends on how weird I'm looking at you, apparently, because we have absolutely no basis for what anything means anymore. Now, the other thing too is, what if you're offering to help them with their bags? That is by far the highest level of sexual harassment, is to help a woman with her bags. Now, I know you might seem that chivalry would be nice in today's age, but not anymore. Now, sexual harassment. You get thrown in jail.
This isn't funny.
The other part of this study states that 46% of Gen Z women are asked if they are traveling with their husbands. This is viewed as sexual harassment. This is one of the things, remember when we were talking about sexual harassment and chivalry? This isn't as bad as chivalry, but it's close, okay? 46%, we're not there yet, of women are asked if they are traveling with their husbands. These are the Gen Z, right? The generation below me. Now, this is opposed to 31% of the boomer generation, which is the generation above me, okay? Now, I wonder why this is. Of course, it's chalked up to sexual harassment because everything is nowadays and it has to be viewed as such. Now, maybe, just maybe, it's because people who are younger are still trying to play the field and find a mate. You know, where boomers, no offense, are either married or have 30 cats in their suitcase and plan on dying alone. So, it might have something to do with it, guys. It's not like boomers are looking to play the field as much as the generation below me in their early 20s or teens. It's such a dumb question. So, dumb statistic. Now, 42% of millennials, because we can't leave out my generation, because obviously we're entitled to this, so 42% of millennials have reduced travel to a location because of political unrest or health hazards. My generation sucks. Talk about snowflakes. You're going to hinder going somewhere to experience that area, you know, whether it be the Grand Canyon or flat cornfields up north or anywhere in the flyover states, which apparently is the best to visit. You're going to avoid all of those places because that place voted for Trump. So you completely kick them off your list and you're like, nope, not visiting that place anymore. You know, that's bigoted country there. So I'm just going to skip all over that. Now, what are you afraid of? Anybody who's been to the Midwest knows that we're the nicest people here. Come on, obviously. This guy right here, right? You're afraid of us holding the door open for you? Because we know you would much rather visit a place full of snobs where everybody feels so friendly with one another that they are literally crapping in the streets without shame in front of one another. It's like, hey, you know, want to go into this restaurant and, you know, the gentleman opens the door for you. Oh, thanks. That's so nice. Or, you know, you could go down to LA, visit the Gucci store and be like, hey, where can I find a restroom? Well, there isn't a Starbucks nearby, but, you know, that gutter next to the Apple store looks like a great place to pop a squat. You know, I don't know. You can visit with whoever you want, but that's up to you. I want to know how they were getting these numbers because this whole article was just, you know, it was good. Sometimes I think that satire is real life sometimes. Can't tell the difference. It's fine. But how in the world would you get a good sample of people from the United States without asking super weird questions to everything? But this is the world we live in, and everything is dumb. But there is a plus side to all of this. What is that, you ask? Well, that plus side is I have good news for you today. There is currently an asteroid the size of the World Trade Center hurtling its way towards Earth at the speed of 26,843 miles per hour. And if it smokes us, we're done. So, there is always a bright side to this news cycle. I suppose if it looks increasingly possible, as it is kind of turning out to be, I don't know, it's like 1 in 1,000 chance, which is pretty possible, right? I don't know. I had those same chances with my wife, and look at me now. So, I suppose it looks increasingly possible that we will no longer have to worry about the environment so much, and, you know, if it does happen, and it does strike the Earth, we won't have to worry about the environment at all, which is a plus. So, but, you know, I'm not normally a gambling man, but can't hurt to give it a try. Anyhow, I want to move over to Hong Kong. Everything that's going up there seems like everything's kind of been on an uptick lately. I want to spend some time, it won't be today because I will probably run out of time, and I did that last time, so I'm trying not to make a habit of it. Getting into the policies of what's going on in Hong Kong, what exactly they're fighting against, and what those policies imply, because even though we see all these news cycles in these violent outbreaks between the protesters and the police, I think it's good to have a basic understanding of why it is the protesters are protesting. But we'll get into that later because that's a big subject, and something recently happened that in Mexico that I really want to deal with today. So we'll get more into that later. But in Hong Kong, the death of a university student last week from a fall reignited the protest movement. That's probably why you're seeing an uptick in it more so now. The protesters began placing barricades, and when a police officer came to take one of them down, he was approached by an unarmed protester. The cop pulled out his gun and tackles the protester, and then another protester ends up getting involved and attempts to reach for the gun. Well, the officer shoots the protester in the gut and then fires off an additional 2 rounds. The protester is in stable condition at a hospital. He is healing from the wound. Police standing against the government are springing up people who are standing up against the government are springing from the universities over there in Hong Kong. So a lot of the police are starting to throw tear gas and all that good stuff into the universities to try to quash them. They're also accusing many of the universities for producing weapons. This is about the 6 month mark that we've headed into this. A police on a motorcycle recently deliberately drove through a group of protesters. He was taken off the force and is facing some sort of punishment. So at least that's sort of encouraging. I think the police force wants to maintain face a little bit with the protesters, simply because the world is so vast and everybody has an eye on what everyone is doing, and Hong Kong doesn't want to be struck down by the world's eyes, and all that stuff, because otherwise I believe it would just be a whole slaughterhouse if that wasn't the case. But Hong Kong's leader stated that if there's any wishful thinking that by escalating violence that Hong Kong SAR government will yield to pressure to satisfy the so-called political demands, I am making the statement loud here, that will not happen. Well, you might not be in power for much longer. Depends, because it's so hard to crush a movement like this. Once people get rolling on the ball with stuff like this and they fight for, look at our founding fathers. We went up the #1 military power in the entire world and won. These people are going up against China. And it's so hard to crush an idea and a love for freedom like that if they end up fighting hard enough, I can see Hong Kong really pulling through with some stuff, or it will end extremely badly. So it's just, we just wait, see what happens, I guess. Like I said before, I wish the U.S. would get involved. I'm not saying so militarily, but I wish with at least aid toward the protesters and everything like that, because Hong Kong does not belong to China, and for them to think so is completely incorrect, and they need to be put back in their place. I've been getting some feedback on this, and like I said, I'll go into more details on the policies and everything that they're more so leading into, so that we can discuss the main mentality behind the protesters as to why they're doing what they're doing. Anyhow, a tragic brutal murder took place in Mexico last week, Monday, and I'm going to bring Dustin on, and we're going to talk about it. Many of you know Dustin Faulkner from the GateKeepers online and his association to us through Battlefront and the stuff that he's doing there. So I will see you on the other side while I try to get him connected on here. No promises, but technology, not so great. But I'm going to do what I can, all right? 9 U.S. citizens, including 6 children, were killed last Monday in an ambush which is believed to have been performed by the drug cartels. The victims were identified as Christina Langford, age 29, Donna Langford, 43, Trevor Langford, 11. Rogan Langford, 2.5. And Renita Miller, 30. Howard Miller, 12 years old. And Crystal Miller, 10. And Titus and Tiana, the twins, were only 8 months old. Devin Miller, 13 years old, walked 14 miles to La Marais for help after hiding his wounded siblings in the bushes and covering them with branches. I bring on Dustin Faulkner today because I want to get his take on why it is so imperative that we have a border wall due to the increased violence that is happening over in Mexico. Welcome aboard, Dustin, to your first time on the Schumann Show.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on the Schumann Show. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's great to have you, man. As soon as this all came up, I wanted somebody who's done a lot of research in regards to what's going on with our foreign policy in regards to our neighbors below us and all that good stuff, especially after such a travesty. Basically, what is your take on the whole border wall? Why do we need it? Why don't we need it? Or is it Trump blowing everything out of proportion, or is it something that we actually need?
Actually, I don't think Trump's blowing it out of proportion at all, because in my opinion, I think that Trump should be a lot harder about it, actually, because if you look, this is a prime example of what happened to this family. And this happened in Mexico. But as everyone well knows, this has already come over the border for quite some time. I live in an area that is not so close to the border, but it all affects the area which I live in. And I could tell you already, just within the last 2 years living in East Texas, where I do, the activity has picked up extremely well. I outlined an event in our social injustice book about that happened to a young child in Assembly of God Church, right? And that's why it's so imperative that we need to have the border wall. It's not that we're trying to keep a bunch of people out because we just don't want, people different from us here. That's absolutely incorrect, because you go up to any U.S. citizen mostly, and you'll find out that we do want immigrants here, and you'll find out that we love to have people here. We love to, we enjoy different cultures. America is based on people who are different, and in that differences, we become a greater nation. But we have rules, we have laws, we have things that we have set in place which ensure the safety of those who already live here, ensure the safety of those who do not live here. Because when we don't have a border wall or any kind of thing that protects people to have the ability to just cross over, you're not just causing any problems for the people that live here. You're causing problems by those who are stolen and brought over here. Children are rented out. The women who want to come over here, their daughters is 12 and younger, are coming over here. The mothers over there are handing them Plan B. Okay, if anybody should know what that is by now, that's an abortion pill. So they know they're going to get raped, and they don't care that their daughter, as long as they get to America, right? But they're raped like all along the way. Their undergarments are thrown on these things called rape trees. It's absolutely dangerous. And, you have the coyotes who drag them through this. Anybody, and, for all of those people out there, especially women, who are always screaming and saying that men are mistreating them, but yet that they want to have these open borders. Well, I would ask them, okay, well, if you're so concerned about that, then how come you guys are telling us we need to have open borders, but you don't mind that the fact these women and all of the other children are raped along the way, because you're so concerned about women's rights. That's a huge human rights problem right there. They're being raped just to get here. And then that doesn't even ensure that when they get here, they're going to be safe. A lot of them are mistreated by some people who are citizens. They trick them into paying. They trick them that they're going to get paid, and then they'll take them to the ICE office. It happens a lot in the Southern California. But this is why it's so imperative. We need the wall, because it establishes a border that you're saving not just the people who live there, but those without. And then you're keeping bad things from getting in, and you're also helping there to be a standard in raising the bar in order for people to come and want to be here the right way.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, the Homeland Security Undersecretary David Glau would totally agree with you. I mean, he even states the attacks in northern Mexico of what happened, it was only 70 miles away from the border. Those are the attacks that happen to American citizens that include women, children and infants. He says they attack every day. It's a daily basis down there. And not only that, but I think the wall kind of works as sort of like a funnel to try to get them toward the ports of entry rather than, I mean, we read about, geez, it was a few months ago where that father and his daughter died in the Rio Grande when they tried to cross the river. I mean, when you funnel it down to specific ports of entry, I would assume that those people would head toward those ports of entry and try to do things in a more legal fashion. And not to mention the Democrats are completely neglecting to front any money to help with ICE or any of these facilities to help with people in the claims of amnesty.
Right. And see, the issue with that is because a lot of what Democrats are what? But with the open border policies, they tend to be globalist. They're always griping about the right being like that. And there is a problem with Republicans on the right. But in my opinion, they're not really Republicans. They're just a bunch of people who say you're on this side that of conservatism, but you're benefiting largely off of your globalist policies. And then what happens is you're saying to everybody, oh, well, we want to have these things up. Yeah, because they benefit from the basically slave labor.
Right. And I think a big reason why they're wanting all these open borders too is because it essentially raises their voting base, right? I mean, it's just like in high school. When I was in high school and the kid who was running for president, he was like, hey, I'll give you a cookie if you vote for me. Yeah, I'm going to vote for you. I want cookies, right? The same thing goes for people south of the border. They want to be into the United States, and if they can get in for free and their parents and their extended family can all get in for free, of course they're going to vote for those people. It doesn't matter if they're there legally or not.
Right. See, let's take that cookie thing to another level here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Not just the fact that you're going to want to have the cookie, but you're with your group of people that are coming over, right? So you get over here, and of course you're going to go and tell all your friends, hey guys, there's a cookie you can get, and it tastes really, really good. Come and have a cookie across over here and vote for this guy, and we can all have these cookies.
Exactly, and that's why when Trump was pushing to have registration in regards to whether you're a citizen or not on the U.S. Census, the Democrats shot it down because they don't want people to know, who's legal or who's illegal because it would hurt their voting demographics, right? They would completely restructure.
Yeah, because you see, you want to make people have this false view that there's really not a bunch of illegal aliens here voting for a certain group of people.
Yeah. And
asking somebody, are you an illegal? Like, I got an example. This is somebody I knew. And, it sounds vicious, but it's really not, because this person, before she would hire any labor, would ask them, this is, to do their yard or whatever, it's common, these day laborers, their legal stat. And why? Why did this person? Because they're spending the money on those people to do that. If you go and you hire these people, you're committing a crime as well, right? By hiring and harboring illegal aliens.
Yep.
And so she would ask them, and a lot of them did not, and they were reluctant to tell, and a lot of them would avoid this person. So by asking somebody a perfectly legal and legitimate question, are you legal, so that you know how to divide all of the policies and the subsidies and everything that the citizens here allow, whether you agree with them or not, that are divided up into these demographics and into knowing how to send those out, right? And that's a part of the whole census thing. So if somebody's not a citizen, right, they're taking those advantage of those things away from people that we know, likely need them.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I mean, personally, I think that some of the ways to get into the country legally could definitely be expedited and done a little better. My wife is an immigrant. She didn't come from Mexico, but she came from somewhere else, and I paid a lot of money for her. But no, I'm just kidding. But she came through, and when we were dating during the time, she told I was like, well, I want to get married. I don't want to mess around. And she's like, well, no, I want to do this thing. I want to do it by myself. I want to be able to say that this is something I did by myself. Well, it was like 10 grand later, and man, we drove probably roughly about 1,000 miles every 3 months or so until she got it. It took her 10 years to get her citizenship. So I think that's something that could have been, granted, so there were some hiccups along the way and all that stuff. I'm not saying that's the average case, but there are things that I believe could be done to speed it up. And if that were done, I think more people would be apt to, it'd be more appealing to come here, right? Because you want, in a sense, like my wife's awesome. She works her butt off, but you want people to work for it because we want hardworking people here in America to boost our economy, to boost our well-being, to boost our way of life. We want people to assimilate to American way of life and not, if your country was so great, you would have stayed there, right? So why would you try to bring that here? I want to get your thoughts on, after this incident happened, this incident came up after the arrival of the Mexican president ended up releasing one of the large leaders of the Sinaloa cartel into Mexico. Because he's releasing these leaders of these cartels and bowing at the whim, and like we even see his policy is hugs, not bullets. He constantly claims that violence is not the answer in regards to the cartel. And that the Mexican, he spoke out against President Trump, stating that the worst thing that we could do is war. Those who have lived war, suffered from war, know what it means. It is the opposite of politics. War is synonymous to irrationality, and war is irrational. When, Trump, posted like, hey, we're willing to send troops down there. Even Kevin Cramer of North Dakota was willing to give up troops from his National Guard to send down there to help out with what's going on. And he completely denies it. Why do you think that is?
Well, judging by the things that the Mexican president has said, it's awfully familiar. And what it reminds me of, if I'm mistaken, but I believe Herbert Marcuse was the one who said, love not war, right?
Right.
And that sounds awfully familiar to that. It's what are we dealing with again here? Liberation theology, social justice, cultural Marxism. And so what's he doing? And you get a lot of that here, right? You talk about a lot of the prison reform here in America.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we need to do some things, right? But you're wanting to release people and say that there should be no consequences. And to me, by him saying this sort of thing, right, what he's saying here is he thinks the whole issue with this, they blame their circumstances of the reason they're criminals is because they're poor. And
yep.
Their criminality is the reason they're poor. It's a consequence, right? The Lord gave us an outline that says if you don't work, you don't eat. And then anything that's gotten by ill gain will be quickly taken away from you just the same. But that's what this basically sounds like to me by the Mexican president saying, I'm going to, love not bullets. It's just the whole Herbert Marcuse philosophy. It doesn't work. And what you're doing is you're releasing criminals out there to kill families, to kill these people you're talking about. You want to talk about battling the poverty. How about you stop releasing the criminals who are taking advantage of people and causing them to have social economic ability to not make any money, right? Because they're stealing from them. They're enslaving them. And by making them do these, they're releasing their drugs into there. You take that out of the community and then things will start getting better. You give people a reason to work, right?
You're absolutely right. And that moves on to my next point, is that this policy that's exactly what you stated, is exactly what it is. It's all, well, we have to tackle poverty. So this policy tackles poverty in that area. Now, you tell me. Now, this is just me going on my own rant, but the richest, most powerful people in Mexico are the cartels. And from what it sounds to me, this president seems like he's bowing his will down to these cartels because he's too scared to stand up for his own people. So how in the world would the Mexican government ever afford to pay enough money to stop a cartel from performing business here in the United States? It doesn't make any sense.
Right,
and go ahead.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, is this not the same man who used a platform that said he was going to battle the cartels. Is this the same person, or was it or is it the one that was before him where he was actually going against the cartels? One of these guys.
It was the president before him that was going to war with the cartel. Since he took over his, I don't know his name, and I'm so bad with pronounce. Well, I know his name, but I'm so bad at pronouncing him. The Mexican president, the current one today, since he took over office in December, Mexico is on a track record for this year alone to have 32,000 murders this year under his presidency, which is just nuts.
Wow, that's insane. Because but I see. I'm starting to remember. I'm going through this in my head. It would seem to me that now like we know that this was a socialist president. He ran on a socialist platform in Mexico, and obviously many people there, which are coming over the border, believe in that philosophy, and which is why they want to fill the voter ranks here. Because what's the Democrats' platform? Democratic socialism. So
right.
What happens here is, to me, Trump's promises to Americans is to deal with the illegal immigrant problem, and what was his promises to further socialism there in Mexico, and in turn, because it's the whole elitist hierarchy there. So who's over that? The cartels, as you just said. And in my thought process there is he's fulfilling his promise to the cartels by doing this, and it's quite obvious, just by saying that and releasing them into the community.
Now, do you think, or do you agree that we should put troops in Mexico? I mean, we put troops all over the United States and Iraq, Afghanistan, Iran, all these different places. Why wouldn't we put troops in Mexico to kind of stifle the cartel? Why wouldn't we go to war with the cartel like we do with terrorists over in the Middle East?
Well, I used to have the thought that, and this is coming from me being in the military and other things that you see, and that we need to be over there, because to me, Christians have an obligation to help where there's help you can help, and to stop things that's hurting other people. But to me, why we need to pull back a lot of this we're doing. But obviously what's happening here is, immigration warfare. So it is warfare, right? And where is it coming from? It's coming from Mexico. So in any kind of warfare, you have to, that's what soldiers are for. That's what Marines are for, sailors, all of these guys, airmen, they are there to protect the country. So of course, why not put boots on the ground? I don't see a problem with that, because what you do is you send them there to stop a problem. And the problem is these people infiltrating, right? And through all of the various country leaders, they're sending these people over here. Like today, I was listening to a report that was saying that they're catching all of these more and more Chinese people coming over. And that's to the border here in Mexico. I think this was in El Paso. Right. And so, yeah, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be sending a certain amount of troops there. We don't have to deplete our forces to do it. It would be pretty easy. Guys are not like, the best at this, but I think that I think personally, I don't really want to, but we got to do something. And if it comes down to it, and let's try everything we can to avoid doing that.
Right.
But if it comes down to it, we're going to have, it's warfare. You have to do something. And that's why we have these men and women. So send them. If that's what we need to do, is what needs to be done.
Yeah. Now, most people would claim like, well, it's racist because they're brown people, and the Mexicans, like you're calling them and then you just hate them because they're down there. Well, when in all reality, personally, I'd be the same way if it was the French crossing our borders trying to do all this stuff too. Your thoughts?
Well, in my opinion, is what you have a bunch of people crossing over, and a lot of them are refusing to assimilate. All right, I served in the military, and then there's no other flag that, in my opinion, should be flying here other than the American flag. when you have a bunch of people going into computers and they're doing nothing but flying a Mexican flag, it's colonization, right? They're taking over your communities through a means of immigration, and they flood the areas, and then they take over. I have a problem with that. It's got nothing to do with race. You're coming over here trying to take from a bunch of people because of loopholes and stupid policies from politicians. And so there's a problem there. I don't care really what flag it is. If it's not the American flag, it's the wrong flag to me. So they shouldn't be here the wrong way. And then to me, if they don't, you're flying these flags around, right? You're proud. I get, heritage, but it's not that. You see them burning the American flag and stopping the American flag. It's destroying a nation and taking it over. And so it's got nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with race. Anybody who says that to me is a complete idiot, because they have no idea what they're talking about. That you're just trying to pin it on us that we don't like a certain group of people because of the way they look. Listen to anything that we're saying. We don't even go around saying brown people and all that. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's got to stop.
Right. Well, and you're absolutely right. I mean, when we look at even the social programs that are implemented by the Democrats, apparently they think that all these minorities are so helpless that they must dole out cash to all of them, and because in order to help them, they don't believe that they can do it on their own. So they have to give them money. Where we, as the conservative movement, we're like, make something of yourself. Get out there, prove yourself to be worthy of earning the lifestyle that you think you deserve, and work for it. Bust your butt and make something of yourself. And that's why, some of the vetting process I absolutely love for the immigrants that are coming up here. I mean, my wife had to memorize so much. Like, she knew way more about the government and everything than what I even did when she was going through all that stuff, because she had to. It was an inculcation to an assimilation of our way of life and how we lived here. She never wants to go back to where she was. She had the option to get dual citizenship, and she was like, no, because if America ever turned into the country where she came from, she would have nowhere else to run.
Wow. You personally have dealt with the whole vetting process firsthand, basically. And that to me says a lot. If anybody coming to you and arguing that you have a problem with immigrants, it kills everything right there. The amount of work that it takes, the heartache of being apart from somebody that you're trying to be with and who has such a desire to be here. I don't understand how somebody can even have the ability and the wherewithal to sit there and say that you don't want anybody here because they're different. Of course you want people to assimilate to it, because that's how we function here. You got to function. And
yeah.
I don't understand how anybody can just say that to you. To me, that seems disgusting. And to insult the work and the money and the time that your wife took to be here, this absolutely stupid.
Right. And, everybody who comes across here illegally is pretty much a spit in the face of everybody who comes in here legally. It really is. Kind of another question I wanted to ask you and move along with this. So do you think that Trump will actually finish the wall or be able to build the wall by 2020? Or what do you think is his vision of the wall?
Well, obviously he started some on that. I believe that if we didn't have these obstructionists in the way, and that really is a lot of you guys out there. You guys are if you want Trump to do that wall, you better make a change here in 2020. There's seats coming up that would allow you to start voting for these people that will ensure it. So absolutely, I think that if Trump can take away a lot of these roadblocks, like the people trying to impeach him right now, obviously they're another term within 2 years of the next presidency, which I believe that he will win. But the problem,
the Democratic field looks pretty weak, man.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I think that the big issue, though, is we're going to have to deal with something that nobody has seen in probably a few generations here now. And that is when Trump wins, they're going to lose control, right? I view anarchy in the streets. I see all of this is going to happen. Is he even going to have the chance to build a wall because he's dealing with people trying to kill one another here? And I see that as very real. I don't know. I hope and I pray that the Lord's will is for that to be built. He's got a hard road ahead of him, and I think that even they're gonna never stop. Even if we do take them out of office, they've got a lot of the Generation Z that what a good name for them, Generation Z.
I'm just glad you left my generation out of this.
Well, I'm right there at the beginning of the millennials, so when they talk about me, I'm like, oh well, I'm closer, but no, I'm millennial too. But the Generation Z, the Generation Zombies, man, they are led around by the nose, and so I think that what's going to happen is they're going to snap because there's not going to be anything there. They couldn't stop what's coming, and they're just going to go out there and start fighting everything. So I think a civil war very, very likely, and that would put a stop to a wall for a while. I think you're trying to fix that, but hopefully not. I think that if some obstructions taken away, and obviously the majority of Americans, no matter what state out there, wants the wall, and they want closed borders. They want a reformed immigration system, obviously. So
absolutely,
you take away all that, Trump can absolutely, to me, accomplish at least a third of that in his presidency. No doubt in my mind.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm hoping so. I think if this Democratic debate keeps going the way it is, I really see him winning. The other thing too, like you said with the Gen Z, I mean, my generation's horrible as it is. It really is. But even the generation below us, they relied so much on their parents, and their parents are so soft towards them that when they get out into the real world, when reality hits them in the face and the parents are no longer there, they expect the government to be their parents. And I think that's what hurts us very much so, because I mean, my generation, for the most part, was the last generation to really go through a tragedy that brought everybody together via 9/11. And they haven't really experienced a moment where every American came together like we did when the towers fell. And I think that hurts. So
I think the generation at they're not even old enough to remember that. I don't think they're old enough to remember that even happening. So all they've seen now is nothing but disruption. I mean, of course, that's how they're going to act, and it's sad, and I think that we have a long way to go. I'm afraid that I'd hate to say that we have a lost generation on our hands, but we need to be looking forward to, in my opinion, making a change there. And obviously, when people grow up, things change, after they hit their 30s and stuff. But if we don't start now, man, they'll be crazier when they hit their 30s, man. And what are we going to do? It'll be a wasteland out there.
It's crazy, man. It's a crazy world. I mean, previously in this episode, I talked about how it was the LGBTQ community was afraid to travel because they were afraid of being attacked while on planes. It's like, really? Why? And why do you feel the need to bring that up in any sort of situation in a public event? It's a really soft generation, and they have a lot of growing up to do. Studying the founding fathers, I mean, many of these guys, they graduated from Harvard at the age of 19, 20, 21. And they were going to battle at 16, 17. And now we have a generation that if they don't get their Starbucks in the morning, they're going to break down.
But see, I wonder if anything's going to be able to be done about how they do that, because everything's about feelings.
Right.
it worries me because, there's no logical thinking within a lot of them. And it's terrible because, there's so much potential there that if they just got on the right direction, that there'd be an incredible work ethic. There'd be the ability to care about the people around them, and in the right context, you could make things better. But it's just so beyond me about how they're like that. And about the gays go so afraid about. I'm sorry, man. I've been around a lot of places, and I've been in some pretty hardcore conservative areas, and I don't see people just out there running around trying to beat up a bunch of Nancy boys.
Right? I mean, we might hold the door open for you.
Yeah, I'm not seeing this. I'm not. In fact, I think that, I don't know about you, but you go, and I have gay friends. Of course, I got gay family, and but I'm not. And it's all, to me, it's all because they think they like a boy, and then someone reaffirms it, and then things happen to them in their lives that cause them to be like that. But I think that conservatives actually tend to go way out of their comfort zone to accommodate for them, and that's a problem.
Absolutely.
Of course. But I think that if anything, you guys are out there trying to protect them too much, and that's not good for people who need to be corrected. Now, you don't go around beating them up, right? You got to stop that.
No.
But I have yet to see anybody dragging Beto O'Rourke around in his dress. I don't see it,
Nope. No, exactly. Well, hey, Dustin, that's about all the time I have. I really appreciate you coming on. It has been fantastic. I want you to quick end this session with, I want you to, I guess, throw you a bone, promulgate Battlefront, your chapter in the new coming book, Social Injustice. Just give it to you for these last comments. Awesome.
Well, thanks for having me on, first of all, Josh. This was really a pleasure. We should get together more and do this. I think it's very, very constructive.
Now that I know how to record.
Also, I have a show on our GK Podcast Network. It is called Battlefront SouthGate, and right now I'm going through the immigration warfare series. There is this. We will be back up. We've been doing we took some time off because we had to get together and do some things here, but there's a 2-hour special coming, which is going to wrap everything up on the immigration warfare, coming out next week. It'll be just in time for you to sit down and eat some turkey and then listen to a 2-hour program. This is going to be a blast. It's like none of the rest of them that you guys have gotten here. Also coming soon is we're going to be up and turning it into a TV show as well on the GK network. A lot of great things coming for the Battlefront Southgate podcast and show. Also, in the book Social Injustice, which I am with 11 other authors, including you, Josh, and I write about illegal immigration in regards to the social justice movement. I bring about in historical context, in present context, and in future context. And then I talk about how you should approach the issue. And then also I tell you about how to talk to those who are using the Bible to promote the issue. And that is how everything is going. And once again, thanks for having me on, Josh.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I will catch you on the flip side for my closing comments. Yeah, I already said that. I'll catch you over there. Check out the Battlefront special coming out Thanksgiving. You're obviously not doing anything more important than that, so check it out. Thanks for coming on, Dustin.
Thank you.
So that was pretty awesome. We'll have to have Dustin back on in a little bit, I guess, to discuss some other issues that could be coming up or whatever, or maybe just to have him on because I'm too lazy to research that day. That's not a thing. Anyhow, it was an extremely important topic because if we cease to be what we are as America, people will cease to come here. People will cease to trade their ideas. We won't be that shining light in this dark world anymore. People won't long to be here. There won't be anything to look forward to. And if we completely throw that away, then what else is there? So I appreciate Dustin coming on, discussing the vetting process, why it is so important that we actually need a wall in America today, as well as some of the security features that it could present, not only for us, but for safety for the people who could potentially be coming into this country. So that's it. I'm out of time, so I'm going to get out of here. Yeah, that's it. I'm your host, The Schu, and this is The Schumann Show.